for excuses is over. We must get the job done in 2024. I'm asking for your support in the January caucuses because I can pledge to you this: I will get the job done. I will not let you down. God bless you all. Let's win this thing. God bless the great state of Iowa.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Nick Smith. We're following breaking news in the race for the GOP 2024 nomination this hour. There's been a major shakeup with Governor Ron DeSantis' presidential campaign. His team announced they have replaced campaign manager Generra Peck exactly 2 weeks after a third of the campaign staff was laid off. Chief of Staff from the governor's office, James Uthmeier, will now take her place. Peck will shift to the role of chief strategist for the campaign. It comes as the Republican presidential hopeful tries to gain traction in state and national polling. Joining me now to break it all down is NewsNation Washington Bureau Chief Mike Vaquera. Mike, it's been about 75 days since Mr. DeSantis launched his campaign. Is it surprising that he's getting rid of his campaign manager already, or is this part of the normal presidential process?
Well, it's not surprising when you consider, Nick, that May 24th, when Ron DeSantis announced his campaign, he was at about 21% in most national polling, and he has been steadily losing altitude since then, despite the resets, despite the retooling, despite the downsizing, despite the change in approach to go to more retail-style politics in Iowa. That continues to be the trend, and now some donors have been warning the DeSantis campaign that they have to do something or risk losing the donations and the flow of money from many of the more wealthy people on the Republican side who backed DeSantis and saw him as an alternative to Donald Trump. But right now, on the national average, he's at about 16%, 15.5% in polling. Again, losing altitude rapidly over the last 2.5 months by about 5 percentage points. And don't look now. I mean, in the first primary state, the second state in which Republican voters will go to the polls in New Hampshire, even Chris Christie now is coming up in some polls, tied with him in that state. We're coming up, Nick, on a series of what could be make-or-break events in the Republican campaign, culminating August 23rd with that debate in Iowa among the presidential candidates, sponsored by the RNC. But the Iowa State Fair kicks off this week. That's a cattle call if there ever was one, a treasured ritual in Iowa. And on the political circuit, there's another event coming weekend in Atlanta, the following weekend in Atlanta, where many of the conservative activists within the party will be there, and many of the candidates will be as well. So DeSantis now retooling his campaign once again, bringing in a new heavy hitter. This is the former chief of staff he had in the governor's office in Florida now, coming in to run the campaign.
You talked about his former chief of staff coming in to run this campaign. This is also part of that retooling. We had said before, they had mentioned how they were just going to let Mr. DeSantis be Mr. DeSantis. They were going to take the gloves off and just let Ron run wild. Does this tell you, Mike, that it's just not working, or this is part of that 2.0?
Well, I mean, it's a continuing series of staff shakeups, none of which have worked so far. I mean, these are short horizons. These are short timelines. They are running out of road. Yes, it's only in mid-August now, approaching mid-August in the year before the election. But as I said, Iowa is going to be decided well before voters head to the polls in January. You just heard the candidate say on Sunday the time for excuses is over. He might as well have been talking about his own campaign. So now, once again, another staff shakeup, bringing in someone in response not only to the polls, but to the message from donors who said they wanted to see a change in course.
Hey, Mike, the first Republican debate is set for August 23rd, which is literally just about 2 weeks from now. Do you think it's smart for the campaign to focus on that and use the debate as a way to reintroduce Mr. DeSantis, or is the public already aware of who he is and there's no time?
Oh, I don't think that the public is aware of who he is. Well, let me put it to you this way. I think the debate will be the best chance, not to say the last best chance, but an excellent chance, not just for DeSantis, but for all of these other candidates to introduce themselves, or in the case of Mike Pence and Ron DeSantis, reintroduce themselves to the voting public, not only in Iowa, but nationwide. So, yeah, it's a huge event.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.